Good evening, friends of Maitri, and thank you for joining us on Maitri's 30th anniversary and first ever virtual gala. We are coming together in solidarity as a truly international community with artists and audience from the South Asian subcontinent, Australia, Kenya, the United States, and me, your MC who was born and raised in California, but now I'm here in London. My name is Anju Kasturiraj, and I am a multimedia artist, and my work involves themes including gendered power dynamics, healing, and ancestral communication. Maitri's work and vision is very close to my heart, and to my work, and to the world that I would like to live in. I'm honored to be emceeing tonight, as we gather under the shared cause to stop violence in our communities, and especially to support South Asian survivors who face disproportionate rates of domestic violence. Together, we continue to advocate for better futures and a more just world, starting from home. I wanted to start the evening off with a quote by a certain poet and civil rights activist, Maya Angelou. She says, "The ache for home lives in all of us, the safe place where we can go and not be questioned." Tonight is also a celebration of survivors who have reclaimed their narratives, autonomy, and power, of activists and advocates, of iconic artists who honestly so many of us grew up listening to, and of new young voices coming together to make change, of educators who demand justice for all of us, of immigrants, of parents, of choosing healing and peace, of children stepping into their own power, of Mother Earth, of Maitri, and of all the artists and donors and audience members of different cultures, national identities, genders, life experiences, and visions coming together under a shared cause. British songwriters Katie Sky and her husband Robbie, and Violet Skies, who've joined us from my side of the pond and who serenaded you all today in the lobby space as you entered the event, are emblematic of the fact that people across diverse cultures and life experiences can, in fact, come together under a shared cause. So, with that, it is a great pleasure to introduce the first segment of this evening, beginning with an incredible individual who is living their truth and who really embodies their own unique, unconventional, and bold spirit through their practice as a flare tender.
So by profession, I am a flare bartender, a mixologist, juggler. But who I really am is a collection of all my experiences combined.
It's a combination of two different things, like your journey as a female and journey as a bartender.
Hello everyone, I'm Ami Shroff and I'm a flare bartender and mixologist all the way from Mumbai, India. And it is awesome to have you here with us for the Maitri's 30th birthday and the fundraiser. Thank you so much for your support. It's going to be one interesting 15-minute session that's planned for you. But more than anything, it's been one difficult time. All the shout out for the support going out to Maitri and for the awesome work that they're actually doing on field. So a little bit about my journey in flare bartending and mixology. It's been a world of exploration. Started in 2003, so it's been 17, 18 years of awesomeness. So we're gonna share a few of these tricks and tips that I've learned along the way in my journey. And yeah, we're going to be making a cocktail in the process / mocktail. Can also be made a non-alcoholic version. And yeah, let's get to it and make it interesting and visually filled with flair. All right, let's get mixing, and we're going to be making a shaken cocktail with or without alcohol, so it's up to you. I'm going to take you through the entire ingredients and the process of mixing. For that, we're going to be using a shaker. and it's a shaken one, shaking it up. The cocktail is called a refreshing change, just to like break out. And this one is dedicated to all the survivors out there for their bravery and their courage. All right, so this one especially for y'all. And let's get to it. Let's get mixing. We take a shaker, which is, I've got a 2-piece shaker right here. Of course, if you don't have a shaker at home, you can also use an airtight jar, and that works fine. Basically, it's just about shaking all the ingredients really well, vigorously together with some ice cubes, and blending it very well. We're going to make this a little frothy because we're going to be using tea as our first ingredient. All right, so we've brewed some tea earlier, and it's sat there. It's a really strong brew of tea. So if your normal tea is like 1 bag to a cup, you're going to add about 3 bags or 2.5 tea bags to a cup. All right, so in that kind of a proportion is how strong we're going to make this tea. And here's bringing out the strength to all the survivors. I'm going to strain this out with a tea strainer. So we've got a cup of cooled down strong tea. It can be masala tea or your tea of choice. I've gone with some Assam masala tea, and we're going to take a peg measure, which is like a measuring device, which is going to help us get our proportions right, just because we want a mix and a good balance of all the flavors that we're getting in there. And so we can make it again as well. We know the recipe, right? So we've got our strong tea, and we're going to put about 50 ml of tea in there. Just a touch more. All right, so it's 50 ml of strong brewed tea, and I've made a jaggery syrup, which is basically just brewing or boiling some jaggery and melting it with some water. All right, so 1 part of jaggery and 1 part of water. Let it just boil in there 5 to 10 minutes. It's going to melt away. Similarly, you can make a syrup with coconut sugar or even white sugar, but I think sometimes the natural sweeteners are so much better and they're healthier as well. All right, so we've got some jaggery syrup here. I've added a little bit of tea while brewing and melting the jaggery also, just so that the tea flavor gets even stronger. It's up to you. You can just add a herb of your choice. You could add some cinnamon, a spice of your choice. Play around with your syrup, and you can make some awesome syrups in your own home. All right, so we've got our peg measure, and we're going to take about 30 ml of our tea syrup, 25 to 30 ml of the tea syrup, depending on how sweet you want it. All right, so we don't want it extremely sweet because this has a little bit of tea. There's a sharpness that gets cut down. This cuts down the sweetness. So I've used about 25 ml. I would recommend you all to start with 20 ml. See if you find it sweet enough. Don't add more, and if not, add a touch more. All right, so we've got our tea syrup in there. We're going to add just a touch of lime juice. In fact, I'm not even going to use a peg measure. Just get a bar spoon out, or any teaspoon if you have. Just 1 or 2 bar spoons of lime juice is what I'm going to add, 1.5 to go with, just to balance out the sweetness in the drink a little bit. I'm going to stir this up, just tasting the balance of flavors. Everything is beautiful if it's in the right balance, but if it's too much of something, it just doesn't taste that great anymore, and it can ruin the entire cocktail. Just like life, how it's a mix of so many different flavors and experiences and emotions, but it just has to be in the right balance, right? Too much of anything is just, it ruins everything and it spoils the entire cocktail. It's unconsumable. So we want a nice balanced drink. You taste your drink out. We're going to add some alcohol in there. I don't want it to be very strong. You can always make low alcoholic cocktails, and the alcohol is just another ingredient. It can add a beautiful flavor to your drink, but consuming cocktails is not about getting drunk. It's about enjoying a great spirit, a great drink. So let's keep that in mind. And I'm going with some rum. You can add your alcohol of choice. In fact, gin would work really well as well. Some bourbon whiskey also. In fact, it's like a sweet whiskey, so rum, I find bourbon whiskey very close to that. Right, so I'm going to put just 25 and another 10 ml, about 35 ml, 35 to 40 ml of some dark rum in there. So that's just a little more than a small peg, but a lot less than a large peg. So that's like a low alcohol cocktail. You won't feel the alcohol as much, but it's there and it's subtle. All right. Now to flavor this, I want to add a element of it can be a spice of your choice. I'm going with some turmeric, And in fact, this brings back so many memories right from childhood. We've used it as a medicine as well in India. So, and of course, now I think turmeric tea is something like a rage that's getting popular around the world. So here is an awesome root of a plant, and which is not only therapeutic, it can be used in so many different ways. If you don't have fresh turmeric, you can just put a teaspoon of turmeric powder, which should be easily available, I think, anywhere in the world. Yeah, or your spice of choice. It can be ginger, it could be cinnamon, it could be star anise, it could be absolutely anything that can give it a little bit of a punch to your cocktail. All right, so we're going to take a muddler and smash out all the juices out of the turmeric that we can. All right, just give it a little bit of a push, a muddle. You can get the aroma that's coming through already from the shaker. I'm going to add all of our ingredients in there. We're going to add just a small sprig of mint as well. This is peppermint. You can use any herb of your choice. You have rosemary, or you have thyme, you have spearmint, basil. Take your pick of herb and your pick of spice, like I picked turmeric. And I'm just going to drop it in there, all right? And I'm going to shake up all these ingredients with some ice cubes. So now we're going to add a lot of ice and shake this cocktail really well. If you have an airtight jar, that works as well. We're going to pour it out after that into any glass of your choice. I'm using a coupe wine glass. Any glass works, yeah? Just something which can fit about 250 to 350 ml of liquid. So let's get our ice cubes and fill up the shaker. Two more cubes. All right, and let's shake this up. Delicious. It's got such a refreshing flavor from the tea that comes through, from the spices as well a little bit, and the mint is just subtly in there. We're going to pour this out, maybe double strain it. So if you have a tea strainer, this is a Hawthorne strainer that I've put on top, but you can just use any kind of a lid just to cover it and prevent all the big ice cubes and chunks to kind of fall through. Now I'm going to add a couple of fresh cubes of ice on the top. And just to top it up, a cube of frozen orange juice. So you can just use any juice. If you've over squeezed it, you have extra fruits in the fridge, you want it to go, you want it to stay fresh, freeze up some of your juice of choice into your ice molds, and you have a juice ice cube. Yeah, so this is a mix of mango pulp with some orange juice and a touch of water, and just something to go on top. And just to garnish, we're going to use some fresh mint. Right. And just, you could place that on the top. And there you have it, the refreshing change, the Maitri special. Cheers to all the survivors. This one especially for you all.
So sit back with your cocktail or your drink of choice and enjoy this evening packed with Maitri power and purpose.
It's delicious and it's so refreshing. All right, so thank you once again, and don't forget to bid on the final bidding on the mixology session if you'd like to do this once again. And here's a special performance for you all especially. It's called Flair Bartending and Contact Ball Juggling that's going to follow soon right after.
What a refreshing change that was. I feel like that's honestly going to add a whole new dimension to my morning cup of tea. It's not just English breakfast tea, it is a ritual for drawing out strength. Watch out, world. And so, now that we have our libations ready, we are going to keep this evening going. And tonight we are joined by community members who have generously supported Maitri since the very beginning. And we are also joined by new friends who are just getting to know us. But since the world of online events and virtual galas is new to every single one of us, I'm going to take a moment to tell you how the screen works. On your left, you'll see a chat function. If you turn it off, you can maximize the screen. And if you keep it on, then you can have a little discussion. On the right is a donate button. When you click on it, you're going to get two options. One is to donate now or to pledge to donate later. Donor advised funds or folks pledging to donate later in the year can definitely use this function. And there's a silent auction going, except it's going to be closed while we're all here enjoying the evening and the arts and the discussions, but it will be opening later on in the evening as the event comes to a close. Your generosity will directly support survivors as Maitri offers culturally sensitive care and services rooted in empathy, community healing, and autonomy. A couple things about donating tonight. When you do, if you want to remain anonymous, please just call the number below. And remember that many companies will actually match your donations, so when you donate, go ahead and check with yours. In our next segment, you will hear directly from Maitri President Sonia Pelia and Executive Director Rama Damarajan. You will hear about the Maitri journey, which has spanned the last 30 years, and you'll hear about the Maitri response to this unprecedented year. You'll learn about client struggles and how survivors are enabled and empowered through Maitri programs. And you'll hear from Maitri ambassadors on why the work of this agency is so special.
I'm here to tell you the Maitri story, how we led the South Asian community here in the Bay Area to care fiercely about the generational damage done by domestic abuse. 30 years ago, 4 women started Maitri with an answering machine in their kitchen. They were responding to severe traumas. Women called us after being thrown out of their homes, sometimes with their children, sometimes without. Non-custodial parents kidnapped minor children. She was in jail because the abuser called the police after injuring himself. She had no papers because he shredded them. The first foundational piece in supporting survivors is providing crisis services, food, shelter, legal support. Without these services, survivors will return back to their abusers with escalated violence, typically. The second foundational piece is financial independence. This is important for choices. The choice to live in or leave an abusive relationship comes with financial independence. We shared all the costs, the advertising costs, the helpline, the post office box. We met in our homes. And creativity was our mantra for the rest. The severity of the calls told us that we could not wait for survivors to find us until all was lost. And so began many painful years of attending community events where we were alternately berated or ignored by the attendees. So to address the issue of being ignored, we designed a neon yellow banner with the helpline number splashed across in red. So you could ignore us, but you could not ignore that banner because it was visible across auditoriums, across fields, and it still is. We spoke anywhere we were invited, even if there were only 5 people. So our families took to joking that we were on a mission to change the world one person at a time. But seriously, we did everything possible to support survivors. We drove them to the courts, to the Social Security office, to the shelter, or even our own homes. Many times, spouses returned from business trips to find guest rooms occupied by unknown women and their children. From helping 5 women a month to over 100, from 5 volunteers to 50, from no staff to 15 passionate people who worked their hearts out to support the cause. The first time we raised $30,000 in a fundraiser, we were delirious with joy. Now we raise $500,000 in an evening with you, and we are still delirious with joy. We're at the table when policy changes are made, when programs are created to support survivors in this state and this country. We receive awards for pioneering work, for leadership, for serious impact. And the community events that shunned us now thank us for helping a friend, a cousin, a neighbor. And our programs now embrace gender justice for men, youth, elders. Anyone who wants to live in a world which is free of gender or sexuality-based violence. And so I'm here today to invite you to join our tribe and change the world with us. We can do it. Thank you.
I have had a very special relationship with Maitri since I did an event for them 20 years ago. And then in 2010, they hosted a play of mine, Broken Images. In these 2 decades, I have seen Maitri grow from strength to strength and become a powerful safety net for survivors of domestic violence, addressing not just issues of domestic abuse, but also its side effects like homelessness, joblessness, poverty. I urge you to support Maitri, do the thing they do best. And during these times of the pandemic, the need is so much more, the fallout of which will be visible for times to come. So let us all put in the best we can to support Maitri live up to the challenges of our times.
A warm hello to everybody here this evening. It is so moving to see that even in these difficult times, we have the largest audience we've ever had at a Maitri Gala. What a year it's been. Several months ago, my sister said, Rama, we may all be sailing in the same sea, but we're in very different boats. And this is so true, especially in the context of our work at Maitri and in these times. The journey from victim to survivor has always been long and hard. COVID intensifies this struggle threefold, and the pattern is chilling. In the first quarter of the pandemic, we saw a marked drop in calls to our helpline, but we knew the reasons for this silence. Lockdowns are not always safe for everybody. In fact, they can be lethal. Sheltering in place with an abuser not only increases the intensity of abuse, but also of surveillance. So many don't reach out for help. But when they do, only a fourth of those callers choose to take action. A drastic drop from the pre-pandemic 80%. Those who've left are now caught in a web of struggles that take them several steps back in their journey. For instance, isolation, no support structure, homelessness, loss of jobs, delays in court cases and immigration decisions, lack of safe childcare, stressful shared custody arrangements, all with debilitating effect on survivors. Yes, indeed, there has been a pandemic within the pandemic. How do we respond? By first ensuring that services continue uninterrupted and process pivoting to remote work, virtual service delivery, and dealing with technology access and constraints for many clients. At our transitional housing program, the concerns were even greater. How to keep a shared residential facility safe, how best to provide ongoing care, and yet ensure the health safety of our staff that manage the facility. We met these challenges the way we always do, outward calm and a can-do attitude. Calling over 100 survivors in the first month itself, proactively assessing their needs and how we could support them. Partnering with county departments and service providers to deliver rental and housing assistance, increasing job search assistance, upskilling on technology usage, and peer counseling and legal advocacy sessions by 30%. Moving outreach activities to 100% virtual modes, and expanding prevention campaigns for gender justice to include voices of youth and adult men as allies and the challenges of queer and trans communities. And more, we extended this quilt of compassion to our volunteers and staff, building in wellness breaks and check-ins, being there for one another, to laugh together, and even sometimes cry during anxious moments and some very painful personal losses. Today, as we gather here with you to mark our 30th year, we must ask, what are we actually celebrating? Should we even celebrate the fact that organizations like Maitri need to exist for 30 years and beyond? But change is slow, even if certain, and courage will eventually prevail. So, today we celebrate this courage, strength, and resilience of everyone that has walked this path. We salute the volunteers and staff at Maitri, frontline workers, often not visible to the outside world, who show up every day no matter what's going on in their personal lives. And we salute each one of you for joining us here today. We couldn't do this without you.
My name is Sahil, and I'm the firstborn child of my beautiful and loving mother, Kirti. I didn't always think of her that way, though. For many years, I blamed her for my father's anger. Why couldn't she do what he wanted? Why did she have to provoke him? Why was she so weak that she could not protect herself or us? And when he got angry, he was merciless. I remember crawling under the bed for hours to stay away from him once. One day, in a fit of anger, he threw us out of the house. We stood outside in the dark with my mom pleading and begging him to reconsider, sobbing helplessly, promising him anything he wanted if he only let us back in. It was cold. Neighbors first peeped out of their doors, and then shut them so tight so our grief wouldn't seep into their eyes. My stomach churned with shame and terror. But I grew up that night. What followed was many months of years, really, of moving and shifting and picking up and on. The one constant in those years of change was Maitri. When we finally shifted to their transition home, the first time in so long, we stopped worrying about where next. We made friends with the other children. We had summer picnics and Christmas parties and free tuition for our schoolwork that had suffered. And slowly we learned to trust again. Mom trained to be a nurse and she found a job. And this time she kept her job because he wasn't there to make scenes at her workplace or stalk her colleagues. With a Maitri advocate guiding her, she's able to understand the complexities of mediation, the legal system, and family court to help procure good custody and support. Childhood for me was about finding the monster in the story of my life. But we made it. We first survived and then we thrived. I am now the proud son of a loving and beautiful mother. I've realized that the reasons my mother stayed with him was not weakness, it was hope and faith and strength. Hope that he would change. Faith that she was doing the right thing. And the reason she never went back was hope and faith. Hope that there was a better life. And faith that her hope would prevail.
happy to be a part of Maitri's prevention and outreach program to youth and adult men. I believe that we are powerful allies in Maitri's work to make a better world for all of us. I will sing a song today about despair, grief, and loss, emotions that all survivors experience. Please take this time to explore the Fund and Need buttons to the right of your screens. All donations are powerful. They help save lives, light up darkness, and spread joy.
तेरी सकी मैं अंग अंग आज रंग डार दूं तेरी सकी मैं अंग अंग आज रंग डार दूं अपने जी से प्रेम रंग कैसे मैं उतार दूं तेरी सकी तेरे बिना कहीं बिना व्याकुल मन लागे बिरहन सुर ताल साज आज तेरे आगे नैनन को चैन नहीं रैन रैन जागे एक पल में टूट जाए सांस के दागे तू जो मुँह फेर सकी देह प्राण त्यागे पल पल तू देख मुझे जिंदगी गुजार दो मेरी सखी मैं अंग अंग आज रंग डार दूं अपने जी से प्रेम रंग कैसे मैं उतार दूं मेरी सखी मेरी सखी
Wow, such powerful words on this amazing evening. Thank you so much for joining us and for supporting Maitri and for sharing that with us. And oh my goodness, I'm seeing that we have some very generous donations coming in. Thank you so much for that as well. It's truly so special seeing supporters from all over the world really uniting for this shared cause. And really, the evening's only just beginning. So thank you for that, really. As we move through this evening, there are two quotes that I want to share with you. To quote South African human rights and anti-apartheid activist Desmond Tutu, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." And we all know that we live in a world where those who speak up, who break molds of complacency, who demand a better world for all of us are often punished. Yet, as Malala Yousafzai said, there is a moment where you have to choose whether to be silent or to stand up. I am asking myself, and I am extending the same question to everyone gathered here today. How can I choose to live my life more authentically each and every day in everything that I do? And with that, I am beyond excited to introduce our next speaker, who has refused to let the industry or any cultural pressure silence her, as she uses her platform and her voice to advocate for necessary change as a prolific artist, an activist, and an advocate for all.
পৌরসেরে করেনি শতধা যেথা নিত্য তুমি সর্ব কর্ম চিন্তা আনন্দের নেতা নিজ হস্তে নির্দয় আঘাত করিপিত ভারতের সেই স্বর্গে করজাগরিত where the mind is without fear and the head is held high and knowledge is free. The words come out from the depth of truth, where clear stream of reason has not lost its way. When will that time come?
Good evening, everybody. We're honored to welcome Sharmila ji once more to a Maitri event, this time to commemorate our 30th year in service and our first virtual gala. Welcome.
Let me say thank you for inviting me, and it's a great honor. And I did do a small thing, but in person, which was so wonderful. Now, of course, I absolutely love this technical medium that we are having now, because otherwise it would be nothing at all. So this is better than nothing. But I wish I could be there in person, and let's hope and pray that this time just goes away and never comes back, right?
Absolutely. Before I dive right into the questions, I want to take a moment to congratulate you on behalf of all of us gathered here on the newest addition to your family, your little grandson. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. But the sad thing is that I haven't seen him personally yet. It's all been through FaceTime, etc., which of course not to be frowned upon. But because of all these travel restrictions, I haven't seen him. But as soon as I'm vaccinated, I will go and see him.
And on the topic of grandchildren, they say grandchildren are a window to the future and a mirror to the past. Would you say that's been true in your case?
You know, you're so right about this window to the future and mirror of the past, because I grew up like that. I grew up in a joint family, and I had my grandmother and her mother living with us. So there were so many of us, and we had so many perspectives. And my grandmother used to tell us stories about the strong women of our family, you know, to compare it with then what they had to go through or what the kind of life they lived, and then to me and to my children and now to the grandchildren, to see that and to contrast it and see the wonderful thing that has happened by way of progress, the kind of films that Sarah is doing, for instance, my oldest granddaughter. She's, you know, as you know, she's in films now, and she's doing so well. And the kind of opportunities that they have, the kind of comfort that they have. And of course, as a little girl, I mean, she was so sweet. And I mean, she would wake up in the morning and start jumping, really jumping, and end the evening, end the day with still jumping. So look at the energy. And I remember once she came home to Delhi. We were living in Delhi and they were in Bombay. And she came home and Tiger was sitting in a kind of a wing chair next to the fireplace, I remember. So she rushed in and said, you know, wanted to kiss Tiger, you know, embrace him. And she was short and Tiger was, you know, kind of higher up. So she was reaching out to kiss him and Tiger was withdrawing slowly. And it was so funny because she didn't understand why this was happening. So, you know, those little things I remember. And her favorite story was that, you know, when I'm very old and I won't be able to walk, and I would implore her that, Sarah Bia, please take me for a drive. And Sarah said, no, I'm terribly busy. I can't do that, Bariamba. But then I would sort of implore, and how she very reluctantly would take me, you know. And she said, tell me that story again, because she wanted to, you know, grow up and and wanted to save me from things and, you know, do favors for me. So I remember that. And now, of course, she's a grown lady and working very hard. And there's so much attention on fitness and things. And so is Ibrahim. He has finished his school and now he's looking forward to his college. So that is waiting. But meanwhile, he's doing some, I think he's assisting Karan Johar in some film that he's going to do. So he's busy. And as his mother said, that he's not sleeping all day. So that's good. And then I have these three little ones. There's Taimur, of course, everybody's heartthrob. And he's more famous than all of us. And then there is little Inaya, Soha's daughter. And then now this very tiny little one, so lovely, and I'm dying to see him. And because of them, I'm learning new language, I'm trying to keep up with them.
What a privilege for your grandchildren to have your vast experience guide them in the industry. You're one of those rare artists who has so seamlessly bridged commercial, art house, global, local, national, international cinema. But of all of the roles you've done, all of the characters you've essayed, the film projects you've been part of, are there any that most deeply affected you, that still stay with you?
Mukta, when we work in a film, we give our all to each and every project, right? And it's once the film is made and it's released and it goes out to everybody, then we are judged. They either discard it or they embrace it. And some have a very long shelf life, say 2-3 generations away. Now, a lot of films are still seeing Aradhana, still seeing Amar Prem. So Avishkar, they have some, films that still they find relevant, speaks to them. But we give everything to that film. So we can't really choose and say which one is. But during this lockdown, I saw almost all my films, whatever was available, kind of lived with me and challenged me, where I could stretch my boundary. One was Anupama, because it was so quiet, so quiet against Shashikala's chattiness and extrovertedness, etc. And yet there was that presence, which was quite captivating and makes her. So I thought that was very, very good. And Satyakam was another film, which I didn't think it would be that good. But when I saw it lately, I loved it, absolutely loved it. And the message and the thought behind it comes across so well. So that's why I think it's relevant to sort of see that point of view. And then Mausam, again, where I have a double role. And for that, I did a lot of homework, especially for the sex worker. And I love that character because despite everything, there is no victimhood. She doesn't feel sorry for herself. She has so much agency. So I like characters. Of course, today's actors are so fortunate. They're getting such wonderful roles. In our time, it was mostly VP, male gaze, wringing hands, feeling helpless. But during my career, there were 2 films that had agency. One was Safar and one was Mausam. Again, in Safar, although she's accused of killing her husband and she's in love with 2 men, but she doesn't buy that. She doesn't, she has her sense of self and she doesn't play the victim. And she moves on with her life and her career and walks ahead with her head held high. So I love that character also. So, and there are others like Griha Pravesh, Avishkar. Avishkar has almost become a cult film. People like it for different reasons. There's man-woman relationship. And of course, all the Ray films. Devi, Popu Shanshar, Asian Nights in the Forest, Company Affairs, Hero. They were all wonderful. It was that. And also not just the not just the actual film, but when I see that, I see the progression, and I remember, that particular film and that outdoor was like this, and this is what we did. And Sanjeev, Hari Bhai, we called him during Namkeen. That was again a beautiful film, and what fun we had in Manali, and Wahida ji, and so so many memories come, and Days and Nights of the Forest with Shoumitro, and so many of them. All my friends have gone, but that bonding, that after shooting, the chatting and camaraderie. So that was also, and then working with directors and learning so much. So the whole thing is, whole process is wonderful. But it pleases me to see that even today, the certain films have remained relevant, like Upu Shankshar and some other films.
You recently said that the Ray film Devi, made about 60 years ago, might be your best film to date, and that its theme about women's victimization by religious orthodoxy still is a very relevant and critical theme. Could you say a little bit more about the ways in which this kind of religious conservatism might have targeted the choices that you or your family members might have made?
I'll answer the second bit of your question first. My family was not really constrained by the prevalent stereotypes. In fact, they encouraged the choices that I made. And I think it comes from, like I was telling you, that my grandmother used to tell us stories about very strong women in our family. One of them was Ganuna Dondini, who was Rabindranath Tagore's sister-in-law, who was married to the first ICS, the officers they were called, IS officers, then civil servant. And she left home, which was unheard of, and set up a nuclear family of her own with the husband and children. And she accompanied him to Mumbai, Bombay those days, and she stayed there, and then she went to England also later. So she was a very, very forward-looking person. In fact, the saris that we wear now she conceived that idea, because when she was in Bombay, she saw the Parsi ladies, and she came back to Bengal and introduced the sari as we wear now with the blouse. Earlier, women didn't wear a blouse. And Bengal, they wore the sari in a wrapped around fashion. And it was a very small fabric, like 5 yards. So it didn't really cover you properly. So the women were permanently bowed, So I think that really affected. But the pushback that you're referring to came from other quarters. Like when I was offered Upu Shankshar, my school objected. They said, if she'll be such a bad influence on other students. So I had to leave school. Of course, I went to Loreto and finished from one system to another, losing all my friends and starting all over again. So it was not easy. Then again, later when I became a professional actor, I wanted to carry on with my college. I wanted to do history honors. But Mother Ancilla wouldn't let me. She said, do a pass course, then it's fine. But if you do an honors course, you'll never be able to do it. I said, give me a year, at the end of the year, then if I can't, then. But every day she used to get after me. So finally, I just threw the books at her and I left. Because I said, I'm going to go on working in films, and that would be my priority. But education doesn't stop because you've left, building doesn't necessarily educate you. I can find my educations elsewhere and I will be educated. So I had a very tough. And then again, when I wanted to marry, family was supportive, but the society was not. So they found there was a lot of skepticism. They didn't believe that this marriage could possibly work between an actor and for a want of a better word, an aristocrat or a feudal person. So I did very much what I wanted to do, So, but of course, I'm digressing. So when you ask about Devi, but I don't think, other women are as lucky, to have this kind of environment, enabling environment that I grew up in. And there are dark pockets of superstition and ignorance still exist in parts of India. And in very rare cases, a woman can live by her own terms, so to speak, because what she says, what she wears, what she does affects the honor of the family and the community. So she has to be controlled and controlled for her own good. So the boy is strong and the woman is good. But her dependency makes the society stable, but at a high cost of her own freedom. So she never really knows what she is or what she's about. In fact, there is a lovely book which I suggest to your gathering today about this gender parity and all these little games that we play with ourselves. Even people who are educated and affluent and what have you. It's called Dr. Deepa Narayan's book called Chup. It talks about gender parity and all the issues that women from different walks of life faces. And she's done a wonderful research, and it's a very, very intense and very a book that where you can. I mean, I've learned a lot from that book. So please read it.
And now to finish up our series on looking back, looking ahead, this final question. If you were to find 3 words that best expressed how you've lived your life so far, what would they be? And 3 words to describe your journey going ahead.
And being a Bengali, I mean, it's very difficult because, as you know, that if I can answer a sentence is one, like Tiger would be so succinct, and he would compress, say, 3 paragraphs into 3 words, and I would take 3 words into 3 chapters. So I would say that, not maybe in 3 words, but I've been every woman that I wanted to be. I've not been pigeonholed. I have lived by my choice. So I've been every woman that I wanted to be. And going forward, sorry, I thought that was the question, but okay, going forward, I want to be agile in mind and agile in body and always be engaged with life.
It's been wonderful to spend some time with you and to get a glimpse into what matters to you. Thank you so much for making the time.
So I congratulate Maitri for their 30 years of hard work and making a difference in the community, because it can't be easy when people arrive far away from their home, and especially during this lockdown. So I can understand the challenges, and I can appreciate the work that you're doing. And I wish you all the best. And from 30 years for another many, many years, just keep up the good work.
It's such an honor to share the stage with legends like Sharmila Tagore and Shubha Madgal. My name is Anita Manwani, and I feel very strongly about Maitri's cause and have been a long-time supporter. And I'm really humbled by the incredible work that Maitri has been doing over the past 30 years. On this 30th year of Maitri's celebration, I want to extend a matching donation challenge. We will match all $1,000 and $2,000 pledges at this point up to $30,000. As you look through the Fund a Need button on the right, do consider the difference you will be making in the lives of the survivors and families, and do take advantage of this match to double the impact of your donation. For the few minutes that the pledging is on, enjoy the beautiful music by Easy Wanderlings. They're a young soul and folk band all the way from India. And here's a message of love and gratitude from them, which I can't agree with more. They say, we want to send our love and thanks to all members of Maitri for your undying hard work and determination. that creates a safe space for survivors of abuse. Hoping our music brings you joy and comfort. Happy listening from Easy Wanderlings. And from Arjun and myself, I'd like to thank Maitri and all that you do and all of you who are supporting Maitri.
I was once told the mind's a sacred place, but it can squeeze ya. I'm done waiting, off to a new beginning, so I'ma go find myself a golden beach that will tweak me. Nice and easy, sip a Long Island iced tea with the pretty little lady beside me, and hear the sea breathe. All we need is a dream to keep us going. This is all we need, is a dream to keep us going.
About time I stop waking up, belong to the trembling blows of construction work, eating green open spaces, all in the name of progress. They keep on building, gotta go on spilling, hurting the world we live in. And I dream of the day we would stop and think, and for once believe we can turn this around.
Do da 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 do 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 da. And give it up for the ones who reach for the stars, turn things around while the others sit and frown. Give it up for the ones who gave it all up, stood for the truth for you and for me. Give it up for the ones who share with the past, and start from scratch and do all again. Give it up for you and for me. But it all started with the blues, back in a dream. All we need is a dream to keep us going. This is all we need, is a dream to keep us going.
I am beyond excited to introduce this next segment. Throughout the evening, we have enjoyed such a variety of musical offerings, home videos, a gathering of friends, a young solo artiste, and what you will see now is a magnificent concerto, a bridging of dreams, a melding of thoughts, a marriage of diverse philosophies in this private footage, of a musical innovation and collaboration between Hindustani and Western musicians. A real treat in store for us. Sandy Evans, the Bridge of Dreams director Shubha Mugdal, Anish Pradhan, Bobby Singh, Sudhir Nayak, and Jessica Dunn of the Siren Big Band led this incredible project and have shared this copyrighted footage with us tonight with a note. This is what they said. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be a small part of the incredibly important work you are doing. And we are very pleased that the wonderful artistic team from Bridge of Dreams are able to be part of this initiative.
One of the greatest Urdu poets of India, Sahir Ludhianvi, said, "Aao ke koi khwaab bune kal ke waaste, come let us dream of a better tomorrow." And I think that idea, the dream of making, communicating with people through music, of bridging chasms and gaps through the medium of music is really an important one, and one which I cherish greatly.
समुंदर है
Shubha Mugdal and Sandy Evans curated 2 pieces for us today. The first, Aji Jaiye, is composed by Anish Pradhan and Sandy Evans, and the lyrics are by Shubha. Anish Pradhan's composition is a tribute to the popular Hindi film song format of the yesteryears.
अजी जाइए अब ना करिए बहाना पुराना अजी जाइए अब ना करिए बहाना पुराना अजी जाइए तुमने किया क्यों आने का वादा कर था इरादा कहते फिर मुकर जाना तुमने किया तो आने का वादा कर था इरादा कहते फिर मुकर जाना वादे भी झूठे इरादे भी झूठे वादे भी झूठे इरादे भी झूठे झूठा तुम्हारा ये दिल का लगाना अजी जाइए अब ना करिए बहाना पुराना है कैसी ये दिल लगी अब तो ना चलेगी यहाँ तेरी अब तो ना चलेगी यहाँ तेरी आते हैं हमको भी खेल ये सारे आते हैं हमको भी खेल ये सारे बाजी चली है अब तो जीते यहाँ जाइए अपना करिए बहाना पुराना अच्छी जाइए अपना करिए बहाना पुराना अच्छी जाइए अच्छी जाइए अच्छी जाइए
This next piece is called Joyous Rain. It is composed by Sandy Evans and Shubha Mugdal. The lyrics for this track are by Badri Narayan Chowdhury, Brain Gun, and it's from the late 1800s. Enjoy.
से बादे सबा आने लगी पूछे दिलदार से बादे सबा आने लगी जुल्फ मुश्की रुख पे पल खा खा के लहराने लगी पूछे दिलदार से बादे सबा आने लगे बादे सबा आने लगी बादे सबा आने लगी बादे सबा आने लगी बादे सबा आने लगी से बादे सबा आने लगी पूछे दिलदार से बादे सबा आने लगी जुल्फ मुश्की रुख पे बल खा खा के लहराने लगी पूछे दिलदार से बादे सबा आने लगी
Wow, that was amazing. And with that, we're moving on to our next segment. As if storytelling is an art form. It is a powerful tradition in self-preservation and in community knowledge. It's a way of speaking our truths to power. It's a way of connecting to other people whose perspectives, their traumas, their triumphs, their cultures, and entire lives are, or they can be, so different from our own. And it's a vessel for empathy and for expanding the heart and the mind. And when we as women tell our stories, we are refusing the silence that is often expected from us and disrupting the systemic and often cultural and familial patriarchal dynamics that try so hard to erase us. We take up space. We demand space. And as an artist, my heart feels so full when I am given the opportunity to connect with and listen to the stories of other South Asian women who create. For all of the parts that I so deeply relate to, for the parts that I don't relate to, and the parts that I can take with me on my own journey. This next segment so beautifully illustrates the power of what happens when women illustrate their own narratives. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you guys for joining us, and it was such an honor to be here at Maitri's 30th anniversary and be part of their first virtual gala. Thank you so much for coming and hearing us out.
So thank you all very much, and thank you, Maitri, for doing this kind of exemplary work, really. Thank you. Though Mithila actually is a very vivacious and very bubbly and very chirpy sort of person, and on screen also you've seen her that way, like, Girl in the City and Little Things. And yet I know that she has this sense of maturity which is way beyond her years. And this is something I know because I know her as a person, that there is that grace, there is that poise that she has at a very early age. And that I felt was a perfect foil for Anu's character, and was very perfect for Masha, where you don't realize that there is so much happening within her. And, you just take her for somebody who's like, just there and a very pleasant presence. And then, wham, at the end of the film, you realize that, oh my God, still waters run deep. And that was the thing that I wanted, and she got it, like, absolutely on point. So that's how we all came together. And I think, actually Tanvi has only a few scenes with Kajol, in the scene, and none with Mithila.
None with Mithila.
I mean, the thing she's in with me, she's in a coma. So,
unfortunately. So all she could do was instruct people or, talk to people in between shots. That was the kind of interaction that she had to have.
I had with Mithila, yeah.
And with Mithila, and even Kajol in the hospital scenes. But apart from that, there were 2 or 3 very, very important scenes in the film that, of course, they were there together and they were performing. And one of them is that fabulous scene between the two where, Anu's character kicks out Nayan's character from her house, and she's
Yeah,
8
it's
months
impacted
pregnant.
a lot of people, Renuka. That
Yes,
scene has
yes,
impacted
yes. And that's
in a
because
big way.
of the way it has been performed. It is so real, and it just happened in one take because we had two cameras and we were just concentrating on the performances. And we took it like a theater scene where, you just went through the entire scene rather than cutting it. And I think that's the
And
kind of
I
impact
remember
that
how
scene had.
terrified Kajol was because she didn't want to push
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
because she said, listen,
Yeah.
am I doing it? I said, you
Yeah.
just do what you have to do because you
Yeah.
can't hold back at a time
Yeah.
like this. And I
Yeah.
think that's why it worked so beautifully, because I think the
Yeah.
emotion at that point was totally palpable and totally real.
A woman is complete without being a mother, and you can be mother in various different ways. That you can mother a cause, you can mother pets, you can mother your parents, at a particular age. So I don't think that it's not biological motherhood. I feel that men are very, very often very good at mothering people or pets, or and we don't really look at the entire spectrum of motherhood, which I feel is very important, that we put motherhood in a different perspective now. So the pressure should not be on women to be perfect anything, actually. Forget mothers, but perfect women.
I think you've liberated a lot of women. In fact, I would like to say that about myself, that there are times when I'm admonishing the kids and doing stuff, or I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
And now I'm not really apologetic about it, Renuka. I just feel that I tell them, listen, I'm just having a bad day, so how you can understand that it's just an off day for me. And sometimes it's nice to rally around and give your mother, return that strength to her when she needs it. So I think it's opened up these doors, and you're not constantly feeling the pressure of being the perfect mother, of being there for every waking moment of your life for your kids, for your children. And I'm beginning to realize that there are times when I need to nurture and look after myself.
No, I was just going to add that I'll go a step further and say that in fact I was raised by a generation. Not my mother. I was raised by my grandparents.
Yeah.
So and both and even though I've grown up seeing my grandmother only dedicate all her life to her household and not work outside of it, for us it was never really portrayed as it was never belittled. It was never a thing to look down upon. And my grandfather has always been of the opinion that you have to be independent until, like, even when I turned 23, my grandmother kind of started this आता लग्न करायचं, आता मुलं शोधूया, काही आहे का boyfriend वगैरे, हे conversation started with her. But my grandfather said, I'm not waiting for you to find a boy for yourself. You first prove yourself that you can live on your own. I think that parenting is always a work in progress. I don't think anyone has had it sorted out. Like, even for my I mean, growing up, when we my sister and I talk about it, every sibling will have something to say about their parents or grandparents or family.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, everybody is figuring a way out the best way out to raise their children. I don't think there's a manual that anyone can follow, because people are different and circumstances are different.
Exactly. And, so we don't even know what we're doing, but it's, we are molding them, and that I feel is a little overwhelming sometimes.
It is. You're right. Yeah, and that's the point that I have mentioned in Tribhanga, because for all the kind of things that you think of in terms of a parent, like whether it's Nayan or whether it's Anu, and the things that they think of for their children, which they think are going to make them and their lives better, sometimes can completely, kind of not follow
misfire.
The same thoughts.
Backfire,
it can misfire
anything
totally.
Can happen.
And that's the consequences of those choices. And you live with that each and every day that I make those choices for my children. Very often I'm thinking that I hope this is something that will turn out well for them.
Right. We are second guessing all the time. We don't know for sure. I did a film called Thappad recently with Mr. Anubhav Sinha. and it was a story about women, for women, and it gave you a bandwidth of the kind of women that there are in society. Now, even though my character didn't resonate with my beliefs, I wanted very much to be a part of this film because I wanted this film to be told. I wanted to be a part of the narrative. So I was eager to be, I said yes to the film without even knowing all my scenes or the character of the graph of my character in that film, but I wanted to be a part of this film. So I feel these kind of films where women are being shown in different lights are now finally coming to the fore, and it's really encouraging. There are films, like there was a film called Bajirao Mastani which I did. Now there's no way that I can understand where she was coming from.
Yeah.
She was a widow, and I went bald for the film, and it was completely different from my realm of existence, and even in certain beliefs that character portrayed. And even though she was a strong woman, she was a strategist, and she was all of that, but there were basic differences that I had with the character. But then you're an actor, and then you're taken on because you're a professional, and you have to play all kinds of parts.
Yeah, and I'm sure Mithila agrees about the same thing where Masha is concerned. Masha, tell.
I said this is an easy question for me because the one character I conflicted with was Masha. But like Tanima rightly said, I think as actors, of course we play different parts, but also it's about the stories we want to tell. And this is a story that I did want to tell. And because I think we bring the humanness to the characters that there is, and as an actor I always feel like playing more characters that are far away from you makes you more empathetic as a human being. Forget as an actor also, just as a human being. So Masha is somebody I absolutely did not resonate with.
Agree with, yeah.
but the fact that all her reasons still for having made the choices that she made was still, I acknowledged them and I understood them. Whether I agree with them or not is a different thing, but yeah, Masha was one such character that I definitely had a conflict with so far, because like Renukata said, I have so far only played characters that are very similar to me, and I'm so glad and fortunate that she gave me this opportunity to break out of that. So yeah.
Straight hair also.
And straight hair. None of my directors so far have wanted my hair to have.
Yeah, I mean, your fan following hates me for that, but even if the character, as Tanvi says about Bajirao Mastani, or even the character she played in Thappad, quite rightly is not the space that she comes from in terms of her thought process. And there are a lot of characters that I've played that are far from the way I think, and sometimes I've had to kind of really fight with the writer director and fight with myself so that I can portray them convincingly, because unless you're convinced, you're not going to convince the audience who is watching you. So it also makes one grow as a human being, because one kind of is constantly being judgmental about certain types of people. And when you play a person like that, then sometimes you get a different perspective and you grow as a human being. You're less judgmental. And a lot of that has happened. Like, a lot of people actually accuse me of playing a very regressive character in Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, for instance, And I feel that, the kind of respect that is shown to her on screen, whatever her choices are, what is the film trying to say? Is the film respectful or regressive in terms of the values that are shown on screen? So that for me is also very important. I do not see myself taking on something that, that will tell people that, it is okay to consider women as second-class citizens. if that is the value that the film is putting across, then I don't want to be a part of that. And that is exactly why I'm not taking out on any television work right now, because that is the only formula that is perpetuated, that women are women's worst enemies, which is not the case in our reality. Women have nothing else to do except kitchen politics, which is not our reality. Women are doing incredible work, whether at home or outside the home.
So we've been asked, what are the qualities of our mothers that we know we have, a quality that we would like to have, and one quality that we never want to have of our mothers? You guys have an answer? Wow, I need to think of this.
It starts with me. Okay, so I think one of the greatest qualities that my mother had is that she came from an extremely underprivileged, I would say, or unprivileged background. And she rose to great heights. And I don't think that can happen if you don't have immense strength and immense integrity as a person. So I feel that was her biggest quality. I feel that I don't have as much as she did, but I do know that I have managed to find a lot of strength in life in difficult times, and I think that's very much a part of what my mother was. What one quality that I really had a problem with her was that she gave up on life too early, because she had been working since she was 15 years old. And by the time she was 40, and she just turned around and she said, okay, I'm done. I don't want to dress up anymore. I don't want to go out anymore. I don't want to be presentable to anyone anymore. And I'm done with working, and I just want to be not even a homemaker, a housewife. And I felt there's so much more at 40, so that's definitely something that I don't want to be a part of.
Okay,
so where my head, this is what's coming.
Yeah, no, correct. No, where I'm concerned, I think my mom, what I would, I think what I have of my mom is a lot of patience. I think I have seen her single-handedly kind of raise my brother and I without really raising her voice much. And I think there's a lot of gentleness and, the quality of strength, resilience without, having to be aggressive, which is something that I think I have imbibed from her. What I would really like to imbibe is, of course, her amazing discipline towards her craft, that is writing. I mean, she's 81, and the kind of writing that she puts in, whether it's translations, whether it's her own creative work, there is so much that she's doing every single day. And here I am, kind of finding excuses for not writing, and they are so lame, and I'm so lame in that I really feel that I should kind of be much more disciplined.
I think I resonate with my grandmother a lot, because she's literally raised me. So it's something that I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk about her, essentially. The quality that I think I have managed, or at least try to imbibe, is perseverance and resilience. Like she never gives up. It's just not in her DNA. She just never gives up. It's just she keeps at it and at it and at it. So that's something that I'm kind of trying to learn, or have managed to imbibe a little bit. The one thing that I haven't managed is just how positive she is through everything. That's something that my mother also has. My mother she'll just find the goodness in life, and I'm just
wonderful.
No matter, and I know the kind of hardships both of them have gone through. And sometimes my sister and I have actually asked them, how are you doing this? Like, it riles us. when we hear these things. And how are you? And they're still smiling. And till date, they're still smiling. So yeah, that's amazing about them. The one thing about my grandmother that I'll never, like the one faith she has that I'll never imbibe is ki apla naura apla de vastu. That is, and she has submitted to that fact. And of course, she's a very she's a strong-headed woman. She'll think of herself. She loves herself before everyone else. But this one thing she genuinely believes in is that नाही आपला नवरा देव असतो आणि आपल्याला करावंच लागतं त्याच्यासाठी. Oh, somebody is asking you to translate it. That she believes that your husband is your God and that you have to. Pati Parmeshwar hota hai. She actually believes in it. So that is something I don't even want to take.
I wonder sometimes whether it's a better place to be.
The pati is not doing godly things. I mean, very often what happens, unfortunately, in our situation is that where Mithila, luckily her grandmother has Bahu. So it's all very well to think of him as Parmeshwar, but there are many places where this is it's a value given absolutely like a parting gift to the any girl child when she gets married, that this is your home now. Don't come back. आपकी अर्थी निकलेगी यहीं से. Thank you very, very much for this, kind of gathering around Tribhanga. It's a film that has resonated with a lot of men and women, and very, very different kind of conversations have started about motherhood, about women, about human value, and you've given us the opportunity to kind of come together and relive those memories, relive our time together, and to celebrate this film. So I'm really grateful. I'm humbled by the kind of response that we've got for Tribhanga. And this is, I think, just part of the beginning. I think we need to say so many different things about women that have not been said before.
Thank you for making the room to have these uncomfortable conversations, but these need to be had if we have to make any kind of progress in society. Thank you so much and good luck. Bye, guys.
What a meaningful and powerful evening we just shared together. I am so sad to say that this event is now drawing to a close. And it has been an absolutely incredible journey experiencing these past few hours with you all. But before we bid you goodbye, we want to remind you that the silent auction is now open until midnight. So do browse the silent auction if you haven't already, as it is also a wonderful way to support this cause. And to all of you who came here today, we thank you for all of your love and all of your support. We thank all of the artists who gave so freely and generously of themselves, and for all of the thought put in by partners who helped put together this intentional and moving evening. And until we meet again, know that you here today have made a huge difference in someone's life. Shone a beacon on dark nights, brought back a smile, delivered hope. So, from everyone who serves at Maitri, and from everyone that Maitri serves, and from me, your MC of the evening, we just wanted to say thank you and good night.